Hello. You ever watch someone destroy their own life in real time and think, wow, this is even better than I imagined? Like watching a slow-motion car crash where the driver is smiling right before impact? That was my wife, Madison. And me? I was the guy who saw it coming miles away but let her keep pressing the gas. The best part? She thought she was outsmarting me. Madison and I had been married for 7 years, and for the most part, I thought we had a solid life. We weren't some fairy tale romance. But we had history, we had good years, and I thought we had trust. Turns out, the only thing I had was a front row seat to my own betrayal. It started small. It always does. The classic early warning signs that most people either ignore or justify. Madison started working late. Not occasionally, constantly. Always some last-minute project or team meeting that ran long. I didn't question it at first. She was in marketing, and I knew deadlines could be brutal. But then came the second red flag, the phone paranoia. She started keeping her phone glued to her hand like a lifeline. I'd be next to her on the couch, and the second her screen lit up, she'd flip it face down like it was some national security secret. She changed her passcode, started taking calls outside, and worst of all, she began throwing random accusations at me. You've been distant. You never pay attention to me. I feel like you don't care anymore. That's when I knew. Classic guilt projection. They always try to flip the script before you can put the pieces together. I could have confronted her right then. I could have gone full dramatic husband mode, demanded to see her phone, asked her point blank if she was cheating. But what would that have done? She would have lied. She would have cried. She would have made herself the victim. And the game would have continued. So instead of calling her out, I played dumb. I smiled. I nodded. I even apologized when she said I wasn't being emotionally present. I let her think she was winning, that she was getting away with it. And the whole time, I was laying a trap so perfectly designed that she never even saw it coming. Because Madison wasn't just cheating on me. She was cheating for me. She thought she had found someone better, a new man who made her feel exciting, someone who wasn't just a boring husband. She thought she was making a smart move, setting up her next big step. But there was one problem. I already knew who he was. And I was about to make sure that when she finally figured it out, it was far too late to fix anything. There's a moment in every betrayal where the cheater gets too comfortable, where they start slipping up, acting like they're untouchable. Madison hit that stage fast. At first, she was careful. The late nights were accompanied by half-hearted excuses, always wrapped in an apologetic smile. She'd make sure to mention her boss a little too much, just enough to make me think that's where she was. The way she'd sigh about her endless workload was rehearsed, a performance meant to keep me from asking questions. But after a while, she got sloppy. She stopped trying to be subtle about hiding her phone. She started staying out until 2 a.m., coming home with that unmistakable energy of someone who had been somewhere they weren't supposed to be. She'd act annoyed when I was awake, like I was the problem for still being up when she walked in. That's when I knew she thought I was weak. She had convinced herself that I was the classic clueless husband, the guy who was so blinded by love that he wouldn't dare suspect her. She thought she was playing me, but I had been playing her from the start. She had no idea that I had access to her location. Months ago, we had set up tracking on each other's phones for safety reasons. She must have forgotten about it because she never turned it off. So while she was out working late, I was watching her drive to the same apartment complex every single time. And that's how I confirmed it. She was seeing someone. Regularly. I didn't even need to go snooping through her phone. I didn't need screenshots or text messages. The pattern was enough. She was predictable, following a routine of betrayal like it was just another part of her schedule. That's when I decided to turn up the heat. I started acting strange on purpose. I left my laptop open with random spreadsheets and financial documents on the screen, muttering under my breath about huge business deals. I casually mentioned a big promotion that might relocate us. I started coming home late myself, throwing in vague comments about a new business opportunity. And it worked. Madison started watching me. She was confused, suspicious, maybe even a little worried. She'd ask careful questions, trying to gauge if I was lying to her. She wanted to know if I was cheating too. She wanted to know if I was making more money than she realized. She wanted to know if she had miscalculated her escape plan. Because that's what this was, an escape plan. Madison wasn't just cheating on me for fun. She was positioning herself for something bigger. She thought she had secured a better deal. And that's when I decided it was time to show her just how wrong she was. She wasn't leaving me for someone better. She was walking straight into the worst decision of her life. And when she finally figured it out, it was going to be too late to undo the damage. There's a special kind of satisfaction that comes from watching someone walk straight into a disaster they built for themselves. It's like seeing a gambler go all in on a losing hand, convinced they've got it made, only to realize too late they just lost everything. That was Madison. She had convinced herself she was playing a perfect game, that she had all the power, that I was too blind, too stupid, too loyal to ever notice she was double-dealing. She must have thought her new mystery man was an upgrade, a trade-up from me. Maybe she thought she was clever for lining up her next move before leaving. But the reality? She had already lost before she even knew we were playing. And I was about to show her exactly how deep of a hole she had dug for herself. I kept playing my role. I acted clueless. I let her think I was preoccupied with work, that I wasn't paying attention to her late nights and urgent projects. Meanwhile, I was digging deeper into the life she was trying to keep secret from me. It didn't take long to find out who he was. His name was Nathan Sterling, a mid-level executive in her company. Not her boss, not someone powerful, just a guy with a slightly bigger paycheck and a slightly fancier car. That was it. That was the great future she was risking everything for. Some guy who probably flashed his salary in a couple of conversations, made her feel special because he picked up the check at overpriced cocktail bars. Pathetic. Even more pathetic? Nathan was married. Married. With kids. So now, I had two idiots ruining their lives together. I had every piece of information I needed to take this from a standard betrayal to something truly unforgettable. I wasn't interested in a dramatic gotcha moment. That's what amateurs do. I didn't want some angry confrontation where she denied everything, cried, and made excuses. No, I wanted something that would haunt her forever. So I started setting the stage. Step 1. Get closer to Nathan's wife. Her name was Emily Sterling, and I was about to give her a front row seat to the same horror show I was watching. I found her on social media, Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn. And it took me less than an hour to find the perfect excuse to reach out. Madison had tagged me in an old company event photo, one of those harmless corporate team-building things. Turns out, Emily had commented on it months ago, congratulating her husband on some great project. Bingo. I messaged her. Nothing suspicious, nothing alarming. Just a casual question about their company, something any polite acquaintance would ask. She responded quickly, eager to be helpful. I kept it light, small talk, harmless banter. Just enough to establish trust. And then, I dropped the bomb. Hey, this is kind of awkward, but I think there's something going on between my wife and Nathan. I have proof. You might want to see it. Silence. For 5 long minutes, no reply. Then, please tell me you're wrong. I sent her screenshots of their location history, the timestamps of them meeting at his apartment. I sent a photo I had snapped of Madison's car parked outside his place late at night. Emily didn't reply for an hour. When she finally did, it wasn't a message. It was a single crying emoji followed by, "Meet me tomorrow. We need to talk." Oh, Madison, you have no idea what's coming for you. The next evening, I met Emily in person. She was shaking when she sat down across from me, her face pale, her hands gripping a coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping her together. She told me everything. She and Nathan had been married for 12 years. They had 2 kids, a house, a life that, until now, she thought was stable. She suspected something was wrong, but never had proof. Until now. I told her my plan. She listened carefully. At first, she looked hesitant. Then, as I explained, her expression changed. She went from heartbroken wife to vengeful strategist. She wanted in. And so, we made a deal. Step 1. Take control of the narrative. While Madison thought she was slyly planning her next move, I made my own arrangements. I met with a lawyer, froze our joint accounts, started moving important assets into my name, secured everything I needed to make sure she walked away with nothing. Step 2. Destroy her fairy tale. Emily and I planned the reveal together. She told Nathan she wanted to throw him a surprise birthday party at a nice restaurant. Small gathering, just close friends and family. Nathan, thinking he had the best of both worlds, agreed immediately. And Madison? She had no idea she was about to walk into the biggest humiliation of her life. The night of the party, I arrived early. Emily was already there, calm and composed, sipping wine like a woman ready to burn her husband's entire world to the ground. Nathan showed up 20 minutes later, looking smug, completely unaware. And then, Madison walked in. The moment her eyes met mine, I saw the color drain from her face. She froze mid-step, like her brain couldn't process what was happening. I sat back, took a slow sip of my drink, and let her marinate in the panic. That's when Emily stood up. She looked at her husband, then at Madison, and in a voice so calm it was chilling, she simply said, "I know everything." Silence. Nathan blanched. Madison looked like she was going to pass out. I leaned forward, smiled, and said, "Oh, don't stop now. We've got a lot to talk about." And that was the moment they realized they had lost everything. There's a special kind of silence that happens when someone realizes they've ruined their entire life in a matter of seconds. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's paralyzing. Like all the air has been sucked out of the room, like their brain can't keep up with the reality crashing down on them. And that's exactly what happened when Madison and Nathan realized that their little secret affair wasn't a secret anymore. Emily's words, "I know everything," hung in the air like a loaded gun, and for the first time, Nathan didn't look so confident. Madison? She looked like she had just seen her own funeral. I just sat there, sipping my drink, watching it all unfold like a spectator at the best show in town. Emily wasn't done. She took her time, like she was savoring the moment, before pulling out her phone and casually swiping through the evidence. The screenshots. The location logs. The timestamps of their little business meetings. "You were sloppy," she said, shaking her head. So sloppy." Nathan opened his mouth like he was about to say something, but what could he even say? "This isn't what it looks like?" "No, buddy." It was exactly what it looked like. Madison, on the other hand, looked like she was about to spontaneously combust. Her hands were trembling, her breathing uneven, her eyes darting between me and Emily, like she was waiting for one of us to wake her up from the nightmare. Except this wasn't a nightmare. This was reality. And reality was about to get a whole lot worse for them. Here's the thing about cheaters. They fear exposure more than anything. It's not the guilt, not the shame, it's the humiliation of being caught. And Madison? She was about to get more exposure than she could ever handle. Because Emily didn't just invite Nathan and Madison to this little dinner. She invited Nathan's parents, his sister, a few of their closest family friends, people who had no idea what kind of man he really was. And just as Nathan looked like he was about to bolt, the rest of the party started to arrive. One by one, they walked in, all smiles and excitement, expecting a fun evening, until they saw the absolute horror show unfolding at the table. Nathan's mother, a woman who probably still thought her son was a gentleman, looked around in confusion. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Emily turned to her, expression blank. "Oh, didn't Nathan tell you? He's been having an affair. With her." She pointed straight at Madison, who visibly flinched. And just like that, the bomb went off. The room exploded into whispers, gasps, horrified looks. Nathan's dad? He looked like he was about to throw up. His sister? Pure disgust. His mother? Devastated. As for Madison? She shrank into her chair, like she wanted to disappear. Too bad. She wasn't going anywhere. I had been quiet long enough. It was time for my part in the execution. I set my drink down, leaned forward, and locked eyes with Madison. "You really thought I didn't know?" I asked, voice calm, almost amused. She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Her throat worked like she was trying to swallow glass. "You accused me of being distant," I continued. "Said I didn't care. But the whole time, you were planning your exit strategy. You were testing the waters with him, seeing if he was a better option. You thought you had everything under control." A few people gasped. This wasn't just an affair. This was premeditated betrayal. Nathan looked like he wanted to vanish into thin air. His eyes darted toward Emily, his soon-to-be ex-wife, as if hoping for mercy. He wasn't getting any. Emily took a deep breath and stood up, shaking her head. "I was going to handle this privately," she said, "but you don't deserve that courtesy." She pulled out an envelope and threw it on the table. "Divorce papers. It's already in motion," she said. "You're done." The color drained from Nathan's face. He reached for the envelope like touching it would make it disappear. Emily turned to Madison. "And you? You destroyed your own marriage for a man who was never going to leave me." That was the final blow. Madison's face twisted in pure horror. She looked at Nathan like she was finally seeing him for what he really was, a man who never actually planned to commit to her. And I just smiled. "Oh, don't worry about Madison," I said. "She's not my problem anymore." And with that, I stood up. I had done what I came to do. She was humiliated. Nathan was ruined. Their whole perfect plan had collapsed in front of an audience. And I was free. Nathan lost everything. His family cut him off. His kids wouldn't talk to him. His job? Gone. Turns out, his company had a strict morality clause, and once HR caught wind of his little affair, he was escorted out of the building. Emily? She got everything in the divorce. The house. The assets. Nathan was left scrambling, trying to figure out how to rebuild his life. Madison? Oh, Madison tried to reach out. Tried to explain. Tried to tell me she had made a mistake. But I had blocked her on everything. The last thing I heard? She moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment, struggling to find work after being fired for workplace misconduct, thanks to Emily sending all the proof to HR. The woman who had once looked down on me for being too stable, too predictable, had ended up with nothing. And me? I was thriving. Because while she had been so busy trying to trade up, she never realized. I was the best thing that ever happened to her. And now? She gets to live with that regret. Forever. Nathan sat there, staring at the divorce papers like they were a death sentence. His hands trembled as he reached for them, as if touching the documents would make it all real. Emily? She stood tall, her expression ice cold, her back straight like a queen watching a traitor get dragged to the gallows. Madison, on the other hand? She was unraveling. She had walked into this restaurant thinking she was finally getting everything she wanted. Instead, she was trapped in a nightmare with no escape. Her breaths were shallow, her fingers gripping the edge of the table so hard her knuckles turned white. Then, like a dam finally bursting, she lost it. You planned this, she shrieked, pointing a shaking finger at me. You set me up. The entire restaurant went silent. People from nearby tables turned, watching like this was some kind of live drama series. I leaned back in my chair, completely calm. Set you up? I repeated, tilting my head. Madison, you did this to yourself. Her face twisted, pure rage mixed with panic. You manipulated me, she screamed. You wanted me to fail. That actually made me laugh. Fail? Madison, you were sneaking around with a married man, lying to your husband, and planning your exit like I was some temporary stepping stone. What exactly did you expect to happen? Her eyes darted to Nathan like he was her lifeline. But Nathan? He was a sinking ship. He wasn't going to save her. Because Nathan had his own disaster to deal with. He turned to Madison, his voice shaking with panic. You told me you weren't going to leave your husband yet. You said you needed more time. Emily scoffed. Oh, so now the truth comes out? Nathan turned to me, his face full of desperation. Man, listen. I held up a hand. Nope. Don't talk to me. You two deserve each other. The moment those words left my mouth, Madison snapped. She lunged forward, her chair scraping against the floor, her voice shrill and full of absolute panic. Nick, please, she cried. We can fix this. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. But I know now. I know I still love you. I had to physically stop myself from laughing. Madison, I said slowly, watching her melt down with zero sympathy, you don't love me. You love security. You love comfort. You love knowing you have a backup plan. But guess what? I am not your backup plan. Tears welled in her eyes. This wasn't sadness. This was pure, unfiltered fear. Because for the first time in her life, she had no way out. Nathan? He wasn't her future anymore. Me? I was already gone. She had officially lost everything. And then came the final nail in the coffin. Emily, who had been watching this train wreck unfold with absolute satisfaction, picked up her purse, looked at Nathan one last time, and said, Enjoy your new life with her. Oh wait, you won't have one. Then she turned and walked out. And just like that, her part in this story was over. Nathan lost everything. Emily's lawyer was ruthless. He walked away with nothing but debt, a damaged reputation, and a family that no longer wanted anything to do with him. Madison? She tried to rebuild. She tried to reach out to me weeks later, sending me long, emotional messages about regret and forgiveness. She even showed up at my work once, pretending it was just a coincidence. I never responded. Not once. Because Madison made her choices. She gambled on the wrong man. She burned the bridge with me. And now? She gets to live with it. Alone. Broke. And haunted by the fact that she threw away the best thing she ever had. Me? I thrived. And the best revenge? She'll never get to be part of my success. Ever again. Bye-bye.